This is the Magic Experience. Your hostess, sexual alchemist Michelle Torrance. This is a delicious conversation on sexual alchemy, body reconnection, and conscious communication. We'll get witchy, sexy, and magical, connecting with each other on a deep, intimate basis, learning, healing, and rising into the human experience we deserve, our magic experience. So grab some cannabis, sit by the pool, and let's chat. Hello, and welcome back to the show. Today was inspired, today's show. I've been wanting to talk about this for a while, and I talk about it a lot on my social media for sure. But today's episode was really inspired by a conversation I had in a group where I posted about this topic, and there was some contrast. And what I love so much about contrast is that contrast allows us and gives us the opportunity to create and get clear on our message, our thought process, our perspective. And when we are coming into conversations that are kind of starting off with some contrast, that gives us an opportunity to practice how to communicate through contrast. And so this episode is really an opportunity to get clear on the work that I do with people and how you can also start to do the work yourself. So let's begin. First of all, if you're new to this show, this is a very cannabis-friendly show, so grab what you want if you do. Let's go ahead. I don't believe you'll need to put on some earbuds, but if you've got littles around and language is something that you are watching around your littles, then yeah, I would always encourage you to put in some earbuds, just because we never know what's going to come out of my mouth sometimes, especially channeling, and cursing is not really something that's off limits. It's kind of who I am. It's part of the way I talk at times. So let's light some sage, let's get comfortable, and let's start off this episode with a question for you. What is your relationship with your womb space? What is your relationship like with your womb space? Now, we'll get into the topic as well with men. Now, this episode may be geared more towards the female body, those who have the womb itself. But men, there is a space, a frequency within that same sacral region that you are able to tap into. And we'll get into that in this episode. So I'm just lighting some sage. I've got my coffee. I've got a fire going in the background. So you might be hearing that. I got a window open too. It's the contrast. I love the contrast. So I'll be smoking, I'll be drinking, we'll be talking, we'll be chatting. So the question is, what is your relationship like with your womb space? So ask that question with an open mind, an open heart, and an intention to be real with ourselves. Now, before I go into anything, I am not a medical doctor. I have never claimed to be a medical doctor, and I don't ever give medical advice because I am not a doctor. When you work with me and we're talking about womb space trauma and pain, I'm always encouraging you, of course, to go to a medical doctor, because we need to understand if there is something that is physically being manifested through your womb space. If there is something physically being manifested, right? Whether cysts, whether whatever it is, then we need to know about it, because that is important. All right. We're not going to bypass this specific reality of the human existence in the body and what is going on with it. And B, it's imperative for us to be clear and know exactly what we're working with, because then we can dive into that specific response. We can create that relationship with that. And that is what we're going to start off with and dive into. When I'm talking about transmuting womb space pain, I'm talking about recreating the relationship that you have with the physical manifested response of that womb space pain. Okay, so let's start from a very small, we'll use a very light example because many of us experience this, right? So let's talk about menstrual cramps, okay? Then we'll move into ovulation cramps. So menstrual cramps. Menstrual cramps are really, that's not the norm, okay? Feeling pain with our menstruation isn't the actual truth of the experience. Now, there is some uncomfortableness. There is some contractions. Now, with the contractions, right, when we can contract in every aspect of our lives, we can contract with our back, and we can curl in when we're something, if we're energetic, we feel like our energy is being bombarded. We can contract when we're in a state of fear or lack. We expand when we are in a state of acceptance. We expand when we're in a state of allowance. We expand when we're in a state of flow. Right? And so when we are having menstruation cramps, right? First of all, our menstruation, our period, our shed, our bleed, we die and rebirth every single month. Okay? And so when we're going through this, there's going to be a physical feeling with that death transition. Okay? Look at it as everything that is going on. There is a connection of that death. There's going to be that physical feeling with it. But the pain, when we experience pain, that is our womb space telling us, hey, look at me, pay attention to me. Okay? And that's pain with anywhere, right? If you're working out, your trainer's going to tell you, this is going to get uncomfortable. It may hurt. You may feel this, but if there's pain, if you're feeling a pain that, like, a knee pain or a shoulder pain, stop and look at that. This is what I'm saying regarding our womb space. See, the problem or the struggle or the issues that we are living in, and the wonderful magic of all of this is that we have been for years and years and years, it's in our DNA, it's in our cellular structure, that our period is painful. We have been conditioned to believe that our period is the worst thing in the world, that it's something that's out to get us, that we are terrible if we have it, that we're shameful for having it. Okay, this is the mother wound. This is part of that mother wound experience. The mother wound is the pain of being a woman in the patriarchal culture, the man society, right? Because the man has always had the power over the women's body. So, of course, we are going to create and manifest this pain because we have consistently been conditioned and indoctrinated and bullied. And oh my God, let me tell you, my jacket, my little jacket sleeve just fell off of my chair and rubbed down my leg, and I almost flipped the fuck out. There was an animal up here that shouldn't be up here. So anyways, sorry, totally shifted my train of thought. But what I'm saying is that the pain that we are experiencing with our menstruation cramps as we get into ovulation cramps, this is a response of protection from years and years and years of conditioning to believe that we are the problem. That we are the problem. So we, in a way, are punishing ourselves by physically giving ourselves pain and believing that our period requires pain. Now, some periods I experience cramping pain. So when I experience this pain, I stop, I stiff pal, stop, think, focus, pay attention, and listen, and I dive in. Why am I experiencing this particular pain? What has been happening over this last month in my life? Have I been bypassing communicating with my partner in anything? Have I been bypassing looking and communicating with myself with anything? Have I been bypassing anything at all? Have I been taking care of myself? What have I been speaking into my body, right? Words are spells. Every single day we are casting spells upon ourselves in others? What have I been speaking into my body? Have I been speaking in life and love and expansion, or have I been speaking in pain and trauma and contraction? Okay. And so what that does is the pain gives us the opportunity to dive deeper into why we may be experiencing this, barring that we don't have any specific medical issues that is causing this pain for that. Okay. We'll get to that in a second. Now, because I don't have any medical issues that regard that pain, when I get that cramping, I know that there's something deeper that I need to dive into, whether that's a forgiveness of something, someone, myself, whatever it is. It can be different each time, but it requires me to pay attention, talk, communicate with my body. That's the basis point of all of this. We have been conditioned and trained to believe that our body is against us. Right? Shark week, hell week, my vagina is killing me, my uterus is stabbing me. No, she is calling you. She is urging you to pay attention to her, look at her, feel her, talk with her, encourage her, heal her, help her, connect with her. Not continue the detachment and cycling of this patriarchal disgust and poison within it. Take a hit. So that it's that I'm talking about, right? So menstruation cramps. Let's get back into that, right? Typically when we start our period, right, we're feeling the cramping, it's coming down out into being the shed, right? So we are experiencing the movement of it, right? That's what the cramping is. That is what the contraction is. Let's go into ovulation cramps, right? The ovulation cramps, when we are feeling that pain, right? I feel more pain during ovulation cramping than I do menstruation cramping. And I know many women out there do. And there's always this like confusion, and it's normal. You're not alone if there is this confusion around it. But, when we are cramping, that means that our muscles, right, our muscles are moving to move the stuff down. So it's like every time it cramps, it pulls it out and then drops it down and then grabs it and then pushes it out and drops it. It's really kind of hard. I'm trying to figure out how to do it. Sometimes I'm not really good with explaining visuals. That's why I usually use like movies and shows and like things to like kind of correlate things, but I'll see what I can figure out as we go through this. So anyways, so when we are feeling the cramping, okay, that pain itself is getting our attention. And what most of us do is we don't pay attention. We just bypass it and we say, oh, that's normal. It's just my period. My body's just trying to kill me right now. Okay. And so the words that you're speaking into that right there, right? My uterus is killing me. My body hates me. All of these things, you are creating a relationship with your body, with your womb space from those words. That's the relationship that you are creating. So what I am saying, how I help women in this state when they come to me and they do have endometriosis, when they come to me, they have had cysts, whether they've had a hysterectomy and they're still having ghost pain, right? We utilize all of this and we go into all of this and we recreate the relationship. We start to pay attention to the pain. Because see, that's where we've been as a society. We've just bypassed the pain that we go through, right? Abuse. However, we're getting that abuse. We're getting that abuse thrown at us consistently every single day, even now in 2020. On 2/2/2020, 02/02/2020. Today. We have 333 days left of the year. But we're in 2020 and we are still in this state of constant abuse being thrown at us from every which direction, whatever the topic, whether it's sex, whether it's relationships, whether it's work, whether it's politics. There's a consistent stream of abuse happening. And we have been bypassing that abuse for a very long time. We have been abusing others by bypassing our abuse. So our physical space, that our manifestation, the pain that is coming through is our body yearning, calling, reaching, crying out, pay attention to me. We need to change our relationship. And that is what I'm talking about. I'm not sitting here saying that this transmutation that we're going to do and the work that I'm helping you with and the things that we're going to talk about in this episode and everything, that this is going to cure you. What I'm saying is by no longer bypassing this pain and using it as an excuse to just live this cyclic toxicity within your own self, but paying attention to it and diving deeper into what else could be causing this, right? You know, so many people read Louise Hay's book, Curing Yourself, what pain in this part of your body could mean spiritually, energetically, what you could be holding on to, all of these things. This is what I'm talking about. So let's get back to what I was saying, right? So menstruation cramps. When we are menstruating, when we're having our period, we are shedding, right? We are going through the death process. Okay. So when we are having cramps, when we have severe cramps, okay, barring again, nothing medically wrong, but when we are experiencing severe cramps, that is an opportunity to say, what are we having a problem with letting go? What are we not wanting to transition? Death is a transition. Right? Death is a transition process. We die and rebirth all the time. All the time. Every time we awaken, we have to go through a death process prior to awakening, right? We've got to go to sleep before we can wake up, right? And if we're in already a state of sleep and we're living this life, this cycle of life of asleepness, right? Then it requires us to actually go through a death process to awaken to the transition to the next level. So when we are going through our period, when we are beginning day 1, 2, and 3, usually, right, is the very heaviest aspect, depending on how long your cycle is. And in another episode, we'll talk about all that. But what are you not wanting to let go of? What keeps you holding on? What pain are you consistently holding on to that you are not letting go of that will allow you, when you do let go and shed with this bleed, what will that allow you to transition into? How will that support the rising of your experience here? Right? And the same then, let's go to ovulation cramps, right? When we are ovulating, right, that's our creation time. That's when we are in our cycle, right? It's our summer. We are feeling very active. We are feeling very sexy. We are feeling like everything is all aligned, right? And we are just having all this wonderful energy, right? And then if we're getting cramps for our ovulation, what are we afraid to create? What is it that we have been holding on to, afraid to create and express into this world? Right? So again, barring nothing medically creating this pain, but that's the first step. That's the lightest of this transition. What can you do? What are you holding on to that you are afraid to let go and transition into the next level with your cycle when you have those cramps that hurt when you are starting your period, right? And what are you afraid to actually create? What are you afraid to express and live and create, right? When you are experiencing ovulation cramps. right? Because when I was experiencing ovulation cramps, I mean, it was for a long time. And then when I finally decided to lean into my creations, when I finally decided to accept the fact that I am a sex coach, that the work that I'm doing is helping through sexual energy, sexual alchemy, orgasmic manifestation and healing, all of these things, my ovulation cramps started to go away. I was feeling the uncomfortableness of ovulation, like I feel the uncomfortableness of a menstruation cramp, but I wasn't feeling that doubled over pain when you walk down the stairs and all of a sudden you feel like you're like stabbed in the side, right? So if you're experiencing that while you're ovulating, I would encourage you to ask yourself, what am I afraid of creating? What have I been holding inside, afraid to express? And if you're experiencing menstruation cramps, very intense menstruation cramps, I encourage you to dive into that. What am I really holding on to that I'm afraid to let go of? What am I afraid of stepping into? What about my new existence, my new paradigm, my new frequency field that I am on the verge of this transition to? Every single month we have that opportunity. What am I afraid is going to happen when I rise up into that? Right? Because our cramps, our pain can be a deterrent. It can be a bypassing, especially if we have allowed it to be the main experience of our cycle. Especially if we utilize our hormones as an opportunity and an excuse to be mean to other people, to ourselves. Right? So the pain that we are experiencing when we pay attention to it. So I'm not telling you that you will cure this endometriosis. Let's dive into this, right? Let's go into this, right? So now you have endometriosis. Now you are experiencing severe pain. And you're taking whatever medication. You have a relationship with your doctor. You guys are working on a physical plan to help, and things are not really moving along, right? What is your perspective about your endometriosis? What is your perspective about these cysts? What is your perspective about your whole uterus, your whole womb space? What is your relationship with it? Do you feel that your body is against you? Because if you do, then that is the frequency that you are going to have in the relationship with your body. With that endo, with those cysts, with that pain. So how can you start to support the medical attention and the advice that you are taking from your doctor, the physical aspect of it, right? The physical manifestation of it. How can you support the healing of that? By diving into deeper as to why it's being manifested in that way in the first place. Now, when we have womb space trauma, we are manifesting that trauma because of pain, because of whether it's sexual trauma, whether in this life, whether you have been raped, whether you've been abused, sexually abused, whether it's been in a previous life, whether you have experience with your mother, seeing an experience happen to her, whether you're feeling the experience from that pain through your mother, through her womb space while you were in her womb, transmuting into your cellular frequency. What I'm saying is this is an opportunity for you to dive deeper and ask, why is this pain coming through? Where am I holding on to trauma as a woman? What is my relationship like with myself as a woman? What is my relationship like with my mother? What is my relationship like with other women? So I'm asking you to look at this pain. I'm not asking you to bypass it and meditate it and oil it out. What I'm asking you to do is to stiff pal, stop, think, focus, pay attention, and listen to your body, to the pain that your womb space is giving you, because she is calling out to you. She wants to change the relationship that you have with her. She no longer wants to be in pain. She no longer wants to have this abuse and this trauma consistently cycled over. Why do you think Kali is rising up? She has been rising up for years now. And we are feeling her rage. We are feeling her anger. We are feeling her fire. So that is how you are able to transmute the pain that your womb space is manifesting into pleasure, to support the healing and the human life experience that you get to have and chose to experience here. I'm going to take a hit. That was a lot, right? That felt good. My little hitter is almost out of weed, which means this episode is almost over. So let's dive into men a little bit, huh? I have men who listen to this and who are so curious, and how they can support their partner, should their partner be a female, with a womb space in that area, the uterus, with all of that pain, right? Because when, the natural aligned instinct of men is to support, protect, and fix. While the natural femme energy and desire is to create, love, and support. And notice support is with both, right? So our men want to support us. They want to help us. They want to fix, right? They don't like anybody in pain. The true, authentic, aligned, what I would call a quote unquote real man, because there really is no specific way to dress or act or like something specifically, but it's who you embody. Anyways, that's a whole nother topic too, which I'm going to have a whole nother episode on, because I've been seeing quite a lot of posts out there with masculine and man shaming, and for us as women, we have had that. That's just what we were born into. Again, as the mother, when we were just born into that shame, that sin, right? And so for men, it's been this the opposite cyclic that they've been coming into, right? That they are supposed to be the abusers and the ones in control and all of these aspects, and so they're trying to unlearn and dismantle that, right? And so they've got this father wound aspect, but they still have this mother wound. So let's dive into this, right? Men, your womb space would be your sacral chakra. Now, while as women we have our sacral, it is with our womb. It's all of that. The womb space, the feminine energy, is the creative energy, which is our sexual energy through the sacral chakra. So, men, what is your relationship like with your sacral chakra? What is your relationship like with your sexuality when you are experiencing issues with your sex life, right? Whether you are ejaculating too soon, whether you are not able to either get as hard or stay hard long, whether you're having struggles with staying in the while you're in the moment, these are all different aspects that can help you by diving into your womb space. So your womb space trauma may be manifested in a different way, right? Usually the male womb space trauma is manifested through the sacral and the root chakra. The male root chakra is so fucked up right now, and that's what we're dismantling. We're seeing that happen within the collective right now, and we see this always happen in pendulum swings on every single thing. I've talked about this a lot all the time. We are a world of polar opposites, right? And by being a world of polar opposites that is in a constant state of motion, we're in a pendulum. We're in a consistent pendulum, right? So it's like those ball things, right? Where you lift the one ball up on the right side. I'm like showing it with my hands, right? And then you drop the ball and it hits those other four balls, and then the other ball goes up on the other side, right? That pendulum, and then it drops and it goes back, right? That's what the collective is, right? If I could describe how we go through trends and aspects and things like that, right? So we hit that ball and then it ripples through the collective in all these different ways, and like all of this, these different levels happen, right? Anger, it's like the grieving process, right? anger, denial, or denial, anger, like shock, denial, anger, like all of these things, right? And then it comes out to the opposite end. And so we have to swing all the way over to the opposite end of the pendulum to be able to center back down into the middle, right? So with men right now, there's a lot of shifting and dismantling and awareness and rising happening. And so where you are experiencing your womb space trauma and pain, you'll be able to tap into through sacral and root chakra work. So again, let me just reiterate, because there's always somebody out there that's just gonna, it's like, all I keep picturing is like the donkey on Family Guy, right? But there's always going to be somebody out there that's gonna be like, no, you said this, because there's going to be this wall of not wanting to hear something, because it could, whether it's an unconscious egoic protection from fear, or whether it's an ego protection from not wanting to change who we are and standing in what we believe is our beliefs and morals. And so, again, always going into conversations with an open mind and perspective without assumptions, right? Because this is where I stop conversations, right? I'll have a contrasting conversation with you, but once you start going into assumptions and saying, well, you obviously have not experienced blah blah blah, you've clearly then shut off any sort of open dialogue communication, because you've put up a wall and you are pointing. And when we automatically shift into that assumption and pointing, and we shut down the open perspective of actually saying, oh, well, where am I holding this within myself? Where am I holding this particular judgment or fear or lack or whatever, right? When we stop doing that, then we stop the actual creation process. So having contrasting conversations is conducive to creation, right? So again, I'm not a medical doctor. I'm not telling you that sitting and meditating and orgasms are going to cure the cysts, right? It's going to cure whatever's physically being manifested. What I am helping you understand is that you can create a different relationship with it. And together you can heal the core frequency of why that pain is being manifested through that way. And then work together to support the healing of your body and the living in this world. There will be moments, of course, where you're going to experience pain. It's how you look into that pain. It's how you utilize the pain to become aware, to be able to transmute and rise into a new relationship. It's a symbiotic relationship we have with our body. Right? I am not my body. My body is not me. I have a body. I was given the gift of this body. I was given the gift of having a period. I was given the gift of being able to die and rebirth in different higher frequencies and connect with myself and my past and other human frequencies and experiences in a deeper, connected, intertwined way. I'm able to help heal past and future by having a relationship with the manifested experiences that we are having. It's just like with addiction. Changing our relationship with our food, changing our relationship with the way that we express the pain. Everything we have is a relationship. So, When you are experiencing ovulation cramps, I would encourage you to journal, pay attention. What am I afraid of creating? What have I been holding on to that I have been afraid to create? And if you're having intense menstruation cramps, I encourage you to journal, pay attention, and ask yourself, what am I afraid to let go of? What am I afraid of rising into? And when we can go to the very far, right, when we know what we are afraid of, when we can go straight to our main fear and we can get it out of our bodies, we can get it out of our head, get it out of the physical frequency that we're expressing through our body and get it out, then we can take a step to the side, turn and look at it from an open perspective without the contractual fear that we've been keeping into. So, how do you use your orgasms to help with that, right? Once you recognize and you have been able to get clear as to what it is that you were afraid of creating, then the next time you are ovulating, as you go through that whole cycle, the rest of your cycle, right? So you're going to go just like with just like with the moon, our ovulation is basically the full moon. Our menstruation is the dark moon, right? So as you're waning into your cycle, and then as you're in your cycle, right, when we're on our bleed, usually day 1 is when we have the veil is extremely basically removed, and we are able to receive and channel the magic, the awareness, the intuition. Like we are fully connected and intertwined with the other side, right? We are in the death. We are experiencing the death, consciously aware of that. So we are able to receive that, right? So when you go into that, you're doing the work, you're getting clear, you're getting the ideas, and then you start to have these seeds and these awarenesses. And then the next time you ovulate, right, you've gone through that process. The next time you ovulate, intentionalize your orgasm. Go into an orgasmic session. Go into a sacred session, right? Set the intention, create the experience, and as you orgasm, have that intention of allowing your creation to come through you, to be expressed through you. Release that fear of that creation. And then when you're on your period, the intention for the orgasm is to let go. Allow the release to fully happen. Surrender to it, with the intention of the new coming in. Because you always feel that, right? I'm on day 4 or 5 of my cycle. Day 4 or 5 is like my favorite. It feels like spring. I can feel this excitement, this sexual energy. So utilize your cycle, utilize the pain, utilize the orgasmic energy, pay attention, and do the work. And watch how your body will start to respond to you in a completely different way that supports the life that you really, truly want to live. You don't want to be in a relationship with your body where you hate it. You want to love your body and all of the aspects of it. Well, for women out there, it starts with your relationship with your cycle. Dismantling the conditioning and the indoctrination that our cycle is the shame of who we are. And for men, shifting that Wombspace trauma is by asking yourself and diving into, what am I afraid of expressing? What would happen by me expressing this truth when I feel this way? So this was a bit longer than I thought. Thank you for hanging out with me if you have. Let me know your thoughts on this. Come join the conversation. You can come join me on Instagram at sexual.alchemist. Right? Is that me? Yeah. At sexual.alchemist. Yes, sexual.alchemist on Instagram. And then, of course, you can come find me on Facebook, Michelle Torrance, The Sexual Alchemist. And I have my Facebook group if you'd like to come and join that. And yeah, so let me know your thoughts. I'd love to know what you have become aware of. And I'd love to know if any sort of relationship has changed with you and your body, right? You know, I'm a relationship coach with couples, but to even try and really help couples be able to communicate with each other, they learn how to communicate with themselves throughout the process. And their relationship with their bodies and communicating with their bodies supports them communicating with each other in their relationship, and honestly being able to live and be and embody the relationship and the experience that they want to be. So thank you for hanging with me, and I am gonna go clean my studio where I work out in, and spend some time with my family, and probably enjoy the sun that is out, because it is the PNW, and when the sun comes out during the winter, it is just magical. So thank you so much, and I will catch y'all on the next episode. Later.